All right, take two. What's up, everybody? I said I was going to make YouTube videos going through this process, so I'm doing that. It's definitely been a few weeks since I was supposed to make a video, so I'm cranking it out. This is going to try to be a one-take wonder. So I'm here to talk about how things are going with kind of the ambitious plan I'd set forth. So what I wanted to do, and that can basically be summarized very simply. Like, get through code school and develop, I think, a sense of confidence there, and that's definitely the most important part. Start a business, an internet business, that is top priority. And then abs, fitness, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of a priority 3, but all 3 of those, and really nothing else. Quarantine's made it really easy, frankly. I think, like, there's so much pessimism and there's so many bad things happening, and I totally get that. But I just don't want to focus there. And I could say a lot about that. I think, you know, where you put your money, time, and energy is where you're gonna see things go well. And if I put my money, time, and energy into thinking about quarantine or what I can't do, I'll get nowhere fast. So not a priority. How things are going on my current priorities though, on code school, I would say, like, in terms of where I am in the curriculum, not where I want to be, but that's okay. And I've come to realize that in a few ways, in that coding is not coding for coding's sake. Learning coding is not learning to learn. It's all for a purpose, and that purpose is to be able to build stuff. And over the last week or so, it's like May 30th, I think. The last week, I have built a ton of stuff. I have built 2 websites in the last 2 weeks. I did API calls for my day job this week, and I used code to write a custom script for the business that I work for. And that's really where I feel like I've turned a corner. You know, code school can get boring. It can be interesting at times, but what's thrilling and completely fascinating is watching myself do something that I would have been in awe of, like, you know, a few months ago. And in particular, using coding, especially writing Ruby, which is, like, you know, the backend language, writing Ruby for my job is like doing something I truly enjoy and getting paid for it. And, like, that's the promised land, right? Like, that's where I want to be. So did that this week, and I was like, holy crap, that was so much fun. I also find myself, like, losing myself when I get into that mode. Like, when I start attacking a problem in code, and there's, you know, a certain way in which you break these problems down, yada, 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 I really do get lost in the problem. And then, like, 4 hours go by, and I'm like, whoa, I got it. And typically I'm pretty stubborn, and I've tackled, you know, problems commensurate to my skills, I think, but I got to the end of the problem, and it was pretty magical. So really happy with how that's going. Curriculum wise, still need to kind of maintain a certain pace, but building, which is more important than anything, building has been going well. So I'm going to tackle a Shopify app just without making it too much pressure on myself. I'm going to tackle a Shopify app in the next few days. Probably take me a couple of weeks to get it done, but, like, sort of the rest of today and tomorrow, I'm going to jump on it and start learning and cranking. And that comes on the heels of, like, this week learning about the Shopify API. So all things coding feel pretty good. In terms of business creation, I would say, you know, not there yet, but we're about a month into this, so quarter of the way through. And I've cranked out a few sites. I certainly like the ideas behind my sites. The one that I'm most proud of would be shopbyathlete.com. And it's a website where I just feel like the way that I shop these days, as I get more into martial arts and boxing and kickboxing in particular, is around, like, the athlete and not the brands or the products. So, like, I just want to figure out an athlete that I admire. There's a whole article on this about, like, mimetic theory, or mimetic theory, I don't know how to say it, about how that dictates human behavior. But really interesting, like, I think about who are my favorite athletes, who are the athletes whose, like, fighting style or whatever I respect and admire, and what do they use? And let me just use that as, like, my decision-making engine. So I figured out, like, okay, this athlete uses that, this athlete uses that, and, you know, I ended up actually buying stuff at a really steep discount. I didn't really use that necessarily, but I was fascinated how hard it was to figure out, like, here's a famous athlete who's a UFC champion or a world champion in wrestling, and it's not super clear what gear they use. And so I just felt like, if anyone else goes through this exercise, let me make it a lot easier. So I built a little website, a little, like, just little table basically of, here's the athlete, here's what apparel brand they endorse, here's their like kickboxing brand, here's their shoe brand, whatever, and threw it up and then made the design look really cool, I think, and threw it up online. So www.shopbyathlete.com, check it out, just for fun. Again, no pressure. So that's like, you know, could be a business referral, probably affiliate income, all that, but I just like that I took an idea, I turned it into a website, I put it on the internet, and now it's live. I'm not gonna make money from it yet, but as I have these ideas, I used to be stuck in the cycle of like have an idea, buy a domain name, think about it a ton, find reasons not to do it, throw it in the trash, I feel guilty about it. Now it's like idea, implementation, execution, and then sort of debrief. New era, definitely new era, super fun. So business is also going fairly well. I would say, you know, the snowball is kind of rolling, and we're going to start rolling downhill more and more as I get closer and closer to something that actually can take payments. I think once I get my first payment, that'll be pretty magical. I can't even imagine what it would be like. So that's that. And then lastly, on the fitness side of things, workouts and like physical fitness, rehab, mobility, been going pretty well actually. I'm taking it a little gentler on my body. I think I've been caught in this cycle of like, I'm hurt, I'm going really hard, I'm hurt, I'm going really hard. So I'm trying to really take it a lot easier. I've typically been moving, some kind of movement, something twice a day, something in the morning kind of wake me up, and something in the afternoon for fun, whether it's like a boxing thing or going in the backyard and playing with my rings and my parallettes, just like move kind of twice a day. Back feels good, hips feel good, everything's pretty straight right now. And I just want to keep making steady progress there. Where I've been struggling more is on the nutrition side. Eating well is hard. I'm at home, my family's been really supportive of like when I want to eat healthy and stuff, but sometimes they make food, it's just sitting right there, it's hard to say no. So it's going to be a work in progress. There's pros and cons, of course, of quarantining with a fam, but certainly one of the pros is all the family time. One of the cons is that I don't have control over this environment, as much control as I would if I were, you know, in Denver or whatever. So yeah, so I think that's going to improve. Been making some small adjustments. I think trying to get a protein shake in later in the day, like before, kind of a post-dinner protein shake, as opposed to like the snacks I've been doing, will be a big help. And just make small adjustments again, continue to iterate there. But if the workouts keep building the way they are, and I make those small adjustments, I feel like that fitness is going to kind of take care of itself. But now we're starting to open up. So it sounds like on Monday, today's Saturday, on Monday, Washington County is going to open up, and hopefully that means the gyms will be opening, and that'll be, you know, another way to kind of reinforce those habits. So I'm looking forward to that. And anything else to share? Not too much else. I think the last thing that's kind of been, not last thing, but like what's worked really well and sort of made this shift from like I say, like idea to nowhere, is that I read that book by Steven Pressfield, The War of Art. And I still don't really think of myself as an artist per se, but anytime you're trying to be a creator, and I think creator meaning you're not specifically doing services. If someone's not asking you for something and then you're giving it to them, like, hey, help me with X, well, I'm sick, you're my doctor. I don't believe that's the same type of vulnerability. I think the act of creating, whether it's business or art or music or anything, elicits a certain type of vulnerability and resistance. And even like sitting down to do this video, I've been thinking about doing these kinds of videos forever. I bought stuff to do it. You might see I have some lighting. And it's just hard. It's weirdly hard. And I've sort of realized that in the past when I felt like I want to make a YouTube video like this, and I'm like, oh man, I really want to do it. And then every time I try, I fail. Or I'm like, I find a million reasons not to do it. My back hurts, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I have to this. All those things made me question my desire. Like, do I really want to do this? Is this really important to me? Same thing with coding. Like, every time I try to do code school consistently, run into problems, and I'm like, do I really want this? And that book, The War of Art, it really reoriented me around those ideas, because he describes that resistance we feel toward the activities we want the most is going to be the most difficult. So when you feel that massive resistance to doing something, that's probably because you really, really deeply want to do it. And I wasn't able to really understand that until I read that book. And so, like for this, I felt all this resistance, embarrassment. Should I even do it? Should I just scrap it? What are my parents going to think? Brother going to think? Friends going to think? But But all those questions make me, I can turn those questions into fuel and say, hey, the reason you're so scared is because you really deeply want to have this in your life, has allowed me to push through some more of that. So, yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to edit this a teeny tiny bit and then throw it up on the YouTube channel. Done. Cheers.